Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is how to move things, and in particular, how to move things in a constrained way. So, as we talked about earlier, you can use the joystick right here, and you can adjust the actual size of the balloon that you use to grab things with. And if I adjust it big enough, I can actually grab all of these things, as you can see. So that's kind of cool. So, and then I'll drop it using my button over here. So now that we've got that, what I want to do is I want to show you how I can move these things in kind of a constrained way. So as we said, if I drag it, I can't get it perfect. There's nothing I can do to get it perfect. So how do I get it perfect? Well, the way you do it is that you're going to line up the bottom of one to the top of the other, and you're going to line them up so that they match across this blue, the red, or the green axis. And in order for you to do that, you're going to make sure you're going to need to go into preferences, and you're going to have to select smart move. And there's off, there's XYZ axis, and there's this all direction. And all direction means that if you line up in any direction, you can move them, which might be good if you've got two or three things that are on some weird angle. But I always like to keep it right here in this XYZ axis mode. Okay, so with that selected, I'm going to grab one of these, and now I've got it grabbed. You'll notice that there's nothing I can do. So most things you want to grab the object first and then apply to it, but not with this the smart drag thing. So what I'm going to do is let's go back into it. Once I get it highlighted, I'm going to line the top of this, and if you can see. You see that blue line shows up when I get close. So they're not close now, but right there, once they're close, now I'm going to press the side button on my grab controller, and notice what happens. I can move it any way I want, all the way up and down. So notice it's also snapping at 6, where is it? 1. So it snaps along the way. It gives you some different snap points based on what your grid setting is. I'm sure that's what it is. So anyway, so that's how you do it. Now, what if I want to go on the red axis? Well, I typically like to just turn it this way, select it, and now I've got the red axis. Now, I could do it also if I just held it here and turned them this way and tried to line up the red axis. But a lot of times it's a lot harder. Whereas if you just turn the whole scene up and down, it kind of just automatically will line up for you. Let's see. There you go. So there we have it. So that's really, and of course, obviously the green axis is the same way, right? So you can do it on either one. And once you've got it moving, you don't have to keep this controller lined up anymore. It's just to get it started. So you just move it up here and get it started, just kind of get it started. And that's how that works. Now, rotating is also kind of a similar kind of thing, except with rotating, if I want to rotate this, I will point them at each other. Okay, so now and that gives me my angle of rotation. See, so you can see how that works. And I can just move this cursor, move the controller around to get a different rotation. And if I want to snap to rotation, let's see what happens when I go into grid. So I'll turn on grid, and now we have a grid. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. We have the grid, and I'm going to try and line these up. And guess what happens? When I've got snap on, I can't use this. So if you're wondering, hey, this is not working for me, why doesn't it work? It's because you have snap on. Because with snap, I can just drag things around, and if I want to rotate, I can actually go in and try and rotate this way, but it really won't work either. So snap, when you have snap on, this new way of moving things will not work, just so we're clear on that. So let me go back in and turn, when you have the grid on. So we're going to turn off the grid here. It's off, and come back. And now, of course, we're back to where we want to be. So that's the first way of moving things. Now, the other way of moving things also needs a preference setting, and that's over here. And that's called the tool belt. And we're going to basically make sure it's enabled in here. And what we'll do is we'll take an object. Well, first of all, I'm going to take the right controller, the one that I draw with, and I'm going to press that side button, and I'm going to sweep over to the left. And as you can see, I've got a whole bunch of these things that popped out, and all these different things, and they're all different things, and we'll kind of go over some of those later. But the one that we're mostly interested in is this one right here, which is this kind of a magnifying looking thing, right? So once this is selected, you can see that everything else is locked. You can't do anything. So I'm going to let go of it, leave it out in space. Now, if I move my tools out of the way, guess what? It goes away. So if I don't want my tools right in front of me, then I'll move my cursor out here somewhere, and I'll run them out, and now they're farther away, and I can still go grab this one, and then I can, leave them out there and I can move it. So how does this work? Well, there's a couple things about this one. First off, the side button is the important thing with this tool. You have to be holding the side button. The minute you let go of the side button, the tool quits working. At any time in the operation, if you let go of the side button, your tool is not going to work. So just know that that's basically letting go of the side button is exiting the tool. So we'll grab it. Now I'm going to move it here. And as you can see, as soon as I get to an object, it's going to basically, let's move up a little better so you can see a little better. Let's go here. So as you can see, anytime we get to an object, it's going to snap, and it's snapping actually to the corners of the object, and it's just on the surface of the object. And if I leave it there, and now I'm going to press my trigger finger, and that locks it. Now my side button is still held. Keep in mind. And with that, I can now move it easily in any of these directions that I want. And if I want to move it in a plane, I just grab the green area, and now I can move it in any plane, right? Same thing with the blue area. Move it in this plane right here. And of course, the red area too. So it'll move in this plane. So that's cool. Now, another thing that's kind of cool about this is I still have my side button pressed. I haven't let go, because the minute I let go, this thing goes away. And notice I can't revolve the scene around anymore either. This is locked. But another thing I can do is I can click out in space with my index finger, my trigger finger, and it'll center it directly into the middle of the object. And that might be good if you're trying to line up something like with the the actual center of the world, something like that. It might be good, although it doesn't snap. It'd be really nice if you dragged it and you felt it snap to something, but unfortunately it really doesn't. But there is a little button right here on the tip of it. As you can see, this little black button, when I click it, it's going to turn on. And now we're in a snap mode. And now you can see we're snapping, and we're snapping to increments of the grid. Let's let go of the mouse. And now, again, we're off of that. And I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to grab it again, and I'm going to click once with my index finger. That's this finger. That's this finger right there. I click once with that to set it, and now I can move it around. Now, if I use my joystick, not this one, but the one over here on this hand, on my drawing hand, if I use that joystick and push it to the right once, I'm going to get this. Now check this out. And notice I still have snap on, so it's going to snap different degrees for me perfectly. So that's kind of nice, every 5 degrees. And if I push it once more to the right, again, I'm using the joystick. I'm push it once more to the right, and now we have a scale. So we're scaling. And I'm going to turn off snap. I think scale doesn't look like it's snapping, so the scale doesn't look like it snaps at all. But you can move this around to the point where you want to scale it from, so that's kind of cool. So if I go in here, so notice that that's where I'm scaling it from, right? If I go back to the right, I can do the same thing with the rotation, right? If I put the rotation over here, let's put it like right here. Yeah, it's right on the corner. And now I rotate. I'm going to get a nice rotation. Anyway, you get the idea. So you just might have to play with that. But this is a kind of a unique tool, and it's valuable, but you got to understand you always have to keep the side button pressed for this to work correctly. So those are the two ways that I know of how to move things around in Gravity Sketch in a constrained way.